This device takes budget to a whole new level. Whether that's good or bad, we'll get into that. Hey guys, it's Matt here, and today we're going to be taking a look at this super budget phone. This is called the C20, and it's made by Oscal. It's kind of like a little bit of an iPhone knockoff with this camera going on here. It looks a bit like a Pro Max. But yeah, let's just go in to take a look at this device and see whether it's actually worth the price. So the price is $100, but they have a sale right now, so you can actually pick it up for $80, which is super cheap. Like, that's kind of sketchy cheap. Like, should you buy this or not? So just to put something into perspective, the case I bought for this iPhone 12 Pro Max was 55 pounds. So it's just a silicone case. So 55 pounds. This thing's $80. Translated is 58 pounds. So almost the same price for just the case on the iPhone. Now, just to kind of reel off some of the specs, it's got a 6.09 inch screen, or as they say, a 6.088 inch display. Let's call it 6.1 inch. It's a pretty large display. It's 720p. And overall, I'm actually impressed with the clarity, the viewing angles, and it looks pretty crispy. Now, obviously, it's only 60 Hz, so it doesn't really feel very fluid, but it looks all right, especially when you're looking up close. Text is crisp, and the colors are not the best. They're not the most vibrant, but, you know, it does the job. And you've got about an 85% screen-to-body ratio, so not too bad in terms of bezels. You do have a bit of a chin at the bottom here. But up at the top, you have this little teardrop cutout, which is just for the front-facing camera. I would even argue it's not even worth the cutout because this front-facing camera is not the best in the world. It's a 2-megapixel camera that just looks like a painting. Like, it's so unusable. I don't know why you would even use this. Now, in terms of the processor, it's got like this weird sounding name, the Ubisonic quad-core, whatever. The name doesn't really matter. In terms of how it works and performs, it's definitely not the best thing in the world. I mean, it's not the worst device I've used, but it's very sluggish, and overall opening things like the camera app or games is just really painful. So really, you can call people, you can use Google Chrome, all the Go apps, because this does support Android Go, but anything that even requires the tiniest amount of power will just lag. And in terms of RAM, again, you're going to be disappointed. It's only about 1 gigabyte, and it just isn't enough. You know, the actual Android 11 Go OS running on this thing uses about 400 megabytes of that RAM. So really, you've got about 600 at best. And I mean, even just opening Google Chrome just fills that up in no time. So yeah, there's basically no background activity that can go on. As soon as you switch out of an app and go into another app, that app just simply closes. And just going through the app switcher, it's painful. It just relaunches even the most basic apps like a calculator. Today's video is sponsored by Epidemic Sounds. Epidemic is a really amazing online tool which allows you to get a bunch of copyright-free music to use on your YouTube channel. So actually finding copyright-free music can be a pain, and a lot of the soundtracks out there are very generic and boring, and they really don't add a lot to your YouTube videos. I was actually introduced and inspired to use Epidemic by Peter McKinnon, and the reason I tried it was there's a 30-day free trial, and then after that you pay $15 a month for a personal subscription, or £10 in the UK. And once you've created your account, you go on the website and link up your channel and also your socials, which basically makes you exempt, so you won't actually get copyright striked by any of the music you use from Epidemic. And if you're worried about what happens to your content if you end your Epidemic subscription, don't, because you can still keep those videos up. As long as you have a subscription when you actually upload and post the video, then you're good to go. You can keep that video online forever without actually having a subscription anymore. So go check it out. Link is down below. You honestly won't regret it. Check out this montage. Okay, so now just to kind of rephrase, it's not the best performance. It has a pretty okay screen, like it's usable, it's quite crisp. So in terms of watching things, I found it to be actually a pretty good experience. There's a headphone jack if you want to look old school, or there's a single down-firing speaker, which is terrible for everything besides calls and pretty much understanding like what people are saying in videos, it's just really tinny. And it's got like no bass whatsoever. It's just very, very tinny and painful to listen to, but it does get pretty loud. I'll give it that. But in terms of like making phone calls and everything, it should be fine for just speaker phone calls. The speaker works okay, it's loud like I said, and then you have the earpiece, which also works pretty good and is loud. So I guess if you're gonna give this phone to like an older person or a kid, then they're definitely gonna manage in terms of just doing basic tasks and making phone calls. But you know, kids wanna play games and this phone isn't the best at that. In terms of downloading things on here, you have 32 gigabytes of internal storage, and then that's expandable. You have support for up to 128 gigabytes in the micro SD card slot. So it's not too bad, but 32 for internal is not really great. You're gonna fill that up again pretty quick. And in terms of download speeds, the Wi-Fi chip is just super slow. Like I have pretty fast Wi-Fi and it's just painful to download things. And you know, you may be thinking, okay, what about 4G? Well, there's no 4G on this device either. So if you're actually going outside, you know, you're out and about and you want to like download something or just Google search something, 3G is actually painfully slow. Like it may have seemed okay in the past when websites were more geared up for that, but when you're trying to download and just use a website on your phone, it's just so painful. Like there's so much content that needs to load. And something really funny is, so this is like the base model, but there's a pro version, which is basically the same in every aspect, other than the fact that it has 4G. So I don't really know what's pro about that, but you'll have to help me out in the comments down below. So something I actually take back is the front-facing camera does have a purpose. Again, not for taking pictures or anything like that, but it does support face unlock, and it seems okay. I wouldn't really trust it, like it probably is gonna work with like a photograph of you, but it does work, you know, when you want it to. But actually swiping around the OS, it does have kind of this very Chinese phone feel, like some sort of Xiaomi phone. It's got sort of an iOS ripoff look with these square icons with rounded corners, and overall, you know, they look pretty simple. You have an app drawer, and the launcher's like not the best thing in the world. It isn't that customizable, so you might want to swap it out for something like Nova Launcher. And I actually did that, but it actually made the experience kind of a little bit worse. It made it more sluggish than it was before, so I reverted back to the original launcher. So when I tell you some things that kind of rip into the phone a bit, just remember this thing is cheap. Like the price of this and what it actually does for the money, like the fact that it has a front-facing camera, that it has like a 720p screen for the same price as something like an iPhone phone case is pretty incredible. So just take that on board for a little bit. You know, even though this isn't the best phone in the world, like, you know, it's plastic. You do have glass screen, but it doesn't feel the best in the world. You know, you've got like this fake camera on the back. You know, you only actually have one camera. They're just made to kind of copy the iPhone and give you that sort of feel, that look for people who don't want to dish out a ton of money. So, you know, take that into account. Something that is pretty good is it has a removable back. So right here, it pains me to do this. So there you go. You actually can remove the battery. There's some Chinese writing on it, which is kind of funny. And then there's two SIM card slots. You got nano SIM card slots, and there's the micro SD card slot. In terms of that battery, it's a 33,080 milliamp hour battery, which sounds good on paper. You know, it's like bigger than say like an iPhone Pro Max, but it doesn't actually perform that well. I don't really know why. I've been getting about 3 to 4 hours of screen on time, and standby time isn't much better. You know, it's only about 5 hours or so standby time. In terms of your charging speeds, it's very slow. It's got a micro USB port, and this thing takes about 3 hours or so to charge up because it only charges at 5 watts. But you know, charging overnight, it shouldn't be much of an issue. So in terms of this 5 megapixel camera on the back, not the fake one, the one above that, it's not the best thing in the world. It looks really whitewashed and there's just no dynamic range. It looks over sharpened. It looks kind of distorted almost. It's kind of painful, but it does work for Google Lens. And if you want to just take some pictures to show something off, then it's not too bad. It has a purpose, you know, it's not totally unusable, but it isn't the best thing. You don't want to take pictures for pleasure with this thing. So in terms of colors, it comes in this black, purple, green, and blue. So coming back to the question at the start, should you buy this thing and is it good? Well, it's definitely not good. It does fulfill certain tasks, like, you know, it gives you the ability to actually use a smartphone and like have that functionality for such a low price. So maybe if you want to give this to like an older person or a little kid, or even if you just want something cheap to take on a trip that you're not really worried about, then this might have a purpose there. So in terms of just the normal consumers of smartphones who want a really great experience, or even like a pretty average experience, I would stay away from this phone. There's a lot of drawbacks, and obviously the price is one of the big pros of this, but I would just spend more money. I think even spending twice the amount of this phone, you probably could get something that's better than twice as good. So that's my overall opinion. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know down below what you actually think of this phone. And by the way, also comes with a free case, which I forgot to mention. And it says on it, only the brave. So I think you would have to be quite brave in order to use this as your daily phone. I agree with them on that. But yeah, I'll see you guys later. Peace.